Tonight, you don't need to remember anything. You don't need to follow the story, or hold on to its details. Nothing important will happen. You are here only to rest, to drift, and to let the night carry you. If your eyes begin to close, you don't have to stop it. You can fall asleep whenever your body wants. The river will keep flowing. The story will keep moving gently forward, whether you listen or not. You are in ancient Egypt, in the time of the New Kingdom. The day has ended along the Nile near Thebes, and the last color is sliding out of the western sky. The heat of the day is loosening its hold on stone, on mud brick walls, on your skin. Everything is exhaling. You stand on the deck of a wooden river boat. Under your bare feet, woven reed mats are cool and slightly damp. The boat is moored to a simple riverside jetty, papyrus rope wound in patient loops around a worn wooden post. The planks beneath you smell of sun, water, and time. The light has gone soft. It is not gone, not yet, but it has lost all sharpness. Edges that just a short time ago were clear and bright are now blurred, wrapped in a gentle haze. The last of the day's sun seems to have been poured out slowly over the world, thinning, fading, stretching itself into a delicate wash of color rather than a single point of brilliance. Above the river, the sky has deepened into blue-violet. The change has been so gradual that it is hard to say when it truly became night, and when it was still evening. The blue you remember from the afternoon is gone, now there is a richer, cooler shade, touched with a hint of purple where the last invisible light still lingers. It feels like standing beneath a great overturned bowl of polished stone, painted in dark, velvety pigment. The first stars emerge like shy, distant fires. They appear cautiously at first, single points of brightness that could almost be imagined. You notice one above the western bank, then another farther to the south, then a third out over the center of the river. They appear one by one, then in clusters, until the whole vault begins to shimmer. As your eyes adjust to the dimness, more and more of them reveal themselves. What was an empty stretch of sky becomes dotted, then speckled, then dusted with light. Some stars are fierce pinpricks, steady and unblinking, others are softer, like grains of salt scattered across dark cloth. Together they give the night a quiet texture, a sense that the darkness is alive, but in a very gentle way. On the western bank, Thebes is a dark mass against the fading sky. The city is no longer a collection of individual buildings, streets, and courtyards. From the river at this hour, it becomes one broad silhouette, a low, irregular line of shadow rising out of the earth. Only the occasional roofline breaks the smoothness, or the faint outline of a palm above a house plot. Thebes looks less like a city now and more like a sleeping animal, curled along the shore in one continuous shape. Most houses are already in shadow. The bright, reflective faces of their mud brick walls that, by day, hold sunlight and throw it back, are now turned gray and indistinct. Corners blend into one another, stairways that lead to flat roofs are swallowed by the dusk. Courtyards that bustled with grinding stones, water jars, and cooking fires only a little while ago are now quiet rectangles of darkness. Here and there, small rectangles of amber glow mark doorways and upper windows, where oil lamps have been lit for the evening. They hang like low stars along the edges of the city's shadow, each one its own tiny world. Behind one glowing slit there might be a family sharing the last of the bread, behind another a woman carefully braiding her hair for the night. You cannot see them, but the light itself hints at their presence, a warm pulse in the cool air. These scattered lights give Thebes a gentle, breathing quality. Places of brightness are never crowded together, they appear and then disappear behind the slow moving of the boat, like fireflies behind leaves. You sense open doorways with woven reed curtains slightly parted, letting light and a little warmth spill out onto the street. You imagine narrow alleys where a single lamp at a corner throws long shadows on worn stone thresholds. The city feels quiet, but never empty. There is a sense of life turned inward rather than gone. The day's voices have folded back into houses and courtyards, into the soft murmur of indoor talk and the gentle clatter of bowls being stacked away. The energy that earlier filled streets and markets now lies low, like coals banked under ash, ready to glow again in the morning. Across the water on the eastern side, you see the silhouettes of great pylons and columns, the distant outline of temple walls. They rise above palm groves and clustered roofs like mountains of carved stone. Even in darkness, their shapes are unmistakable: wide, sloping pylons that frame the hidden entryway, towering columns that hint at courts and halls behind the outer walls. They look both heavy and impossibly still, as if they have been holding the same breath for hundreds of years. The palm groves around them form a softer band, a fringe of feathered shapes that move slightly in the breeze. Their trunks are slender compared to the bulk of the pylons, but they lend the scene a more human scale, a reminder of gardens and shade, of water channels and cultivated courtyards nearby. Clustered roofs lie low around the temple precincts, like small boats gathered respectfully around a larger ship. From that direction, a faint ribbon of incense smoke drifts, pale against the darkening air. It rises almost straight at first, then bends as it meets some invisible current of wind, stretching and thinning. In the last residual light from the west, the smoke catches just enough glow to turn silvery, a soft thread weaving between the temple roofs and the open sky. You can almost see it carrying prayers with it, carrying the day's concerns upward in a single, unbroken line. The gods are being soothed for the night. Within those stone walls, unseen from your place on the boat, priests move through corridors and courtyards with practiced steps, following rituals that have been repeated for as long as anyone remembers. Somewhere, incense is being ground and mixed, wine poured, bread placed on small offering tables. The great images of the gods, hidden in inner chambers, are being attended so that they, too, may rest. Near you on the deck, a small clay lamp burns with a steady, modest flame. It has none of the grandeur of temple braziers or large bronze stands, but on this boat, tonight, it is the sun, the hearth, the center. The lamp's base is simple, the clay shaped by hand, its surface bearing faint marks where fingers once turned and smoothed it. Olive oil darkens the shallow bowl, glistening slightly where firelight kisses its surface. The wick glows at its tip, a tiny core of orange light. It bends gently, fed by the oil, the flame narrowing and then swelling again as the night air moves across it. At its edge, the fire fades into a thin, blue rim before becoming invisible. You can watch it for a long time without boredom, seeing the small, constant adjustments it makes to each breath of wind. Around it, wood grain, rope fibers, and reed mats glow warm and honey-colored. The low light finds the ridges in the planks, the twisted strands in the rope, the woven pattern in the mats under your feet. Each texture catches the fire differently, some surfaces reflect, others absorb, others turn the light into a soft haze. Within the lamp's modest circle, the everyday materials of the boat become almost precious. Beyond that circle of light, the rest of the boat dissolves into soft darkness. Shapes are still there, the curves of the hull, the arch of the mast, the resting bodies of coiled ropes and folded linens, but they are mostly outlines now, gentle and without threat. Edges blur, shadows seep into one another, and what you cannot see becomes as calming as what you can. The darkness seems soft, like wool rather than stone. You hear the low murmur of two crewmen speaking near the stern, their voices relaxed, unhurried. The words themselves are indistinct, trimmed away by distance and the blankets of air between you. What reaches you are tones. A slightly amused rise, a thoughtful fall, the comfortable rhythm of people who know each other well and have spent many nights exactly like this. The sounds come and go, as if they are part of the river's own voice. Someone laughs quietly at a small joke, then lapses back into silence. The laugh is brief, more a warm exhale than a burst of sound. It flares up and then fades, leaving behind a sense of shared ease. No one feels the need to fill the night with conversation. The silence is not empty but full, like a wide, calm room. The river itself is louder than they are, a slow, steady presence. You hear the gentle slap of water against the hull, the faint hiss where small waves run along the planks and then slide away. There is a low, continuous murmur beneath these sounds, the collective voice of countless tiny movements of water flowing past, joining, separating, adjusting to the shape of the earth. It is a sound you could listen to forever without tiring. If your attention drifts away for a moment, that is perfectly fine. You don't have to keep track of where you are in the story. You don't have to remember which part of the river you are on, or how long it has been since the boat left the shore. All of that can belong to someone else, the steersman, the current, the river itself. The boat knows its way. Its hull has felt this current so many times that the wood itself seems to remember. Every creak and slight adjustment feels like an old conversation between vessel and water, familiar questions, familiar answers. The Nile has carried travelers like you for thousands of years. Generations of people have stood where you stand, or sat where you will soon sit, watching the same kind of night unfold over the same river. They, too, might have felt a quiet loosening inside, a willingness to let their thoughts trail behind them on the dark water. The river has seen all of this and holds no judgment. It simply continues to flow, northward and northward, unbothered by individual worries. The steersman moves past you without hurry. His feet are bare, his steps soft on the reed mats. You notice the broad, steady set of his shoulders, the easy curve of his spine as he walks. His body speaks of long familiarity with boats, with nights like this, with the language of water and wind. He checks the large steering oar, then leans his weight into a practiced motion. His hands fall into the same places they fell last night, and the night before, and countless nights before that. The thick wooden handle fits his palms as if it were carved for them alone. It does not need to be gripped tightly, a gentle pressure is enough to speak to the river. The thick rope at the bow is loosened, uncoiled, and finally slips into the boat. You hear the faint, dry rasp of fibers sliding over wood, then the soft thump as the last coil falls into place. For a moment, the rope lies there like a sleeping serpent, its work for the day finished. The last physical connection to the shore is gone. The current takes hold at once. You feel it as a gentle tug beneath the hull, a slow turning, a subtle shift in the way the boat rests under your feet. What was still becomes very slightly mobile, the deck responding in small, smooth arcs. Your body, without thinking, adjusts its balance. The village jetty slides away to the side, dark wooden posts drifting backward, then vanishing into the dusk. You see the top of each post pass by, then the worn rope marks near the waterline, then nothing. The rough boards of the landing place, the stones where feet scuffed and sand gathered, recede until they are only a darker patch against the bank. Very quickly, they are part of the shore again, part of the night, no longer yours. You are no longer tied to the shore. There is a quiet, almost imperceptible sense of release in that realization. The land, with its paths and duties and walls, is behind you for now. Ahead of you lies only the long, dark line of the river and the soft, inviting weight of the night. The boat eases out into the middle of the river. There is no rush to its movement, only a patient, deliberate drifting that gradually increases the space between hull and bank. You watch as the reeds near the shore grow smaller, as the sandy strip along the water's edge becomes a thin, pale band. The voices of the village, already faint, become almost imaginary. The Nile tonight is a broad band of deepening indigo, flecked with the first star reflections. Where the sky is darkest, the water looks almost black, a vast moving shadow. But where it catches the light of a star or the last faint glow from the west, thin, silver streaks ripple across its surface. It is as if someone has brushed a soft metallic pigment along the currents. Close to the banks, you can still see the faint shapes of reeds and low sandbars. Their forms distort and waver through the shifting reflections. Occasionally, a patch of slightly lighter water reveals a hidden shallow, the river's surface curving differently where it meets other textures below. These nearshore details are like the edge of a dream, present, but not where your attention really lingers. Farther out, the water is a single, smooth, dark surface, like polished stone. It seems almost solid in its calmness, even though it is constantly in motion. The boat's passage leaves only the gentlest of trails, a spreading V of ripples that shimmer briefly and then fold back into the broad, unwavering flow. The river feels enormous and yet intimate, as if it recognizes the small craft resting on its back. The square sail hangs limp for now. In the dim light, it looks like a folded piece of shadow suspended from the mast. You can make out the faint lines where the weave of the cloth catches what little light there is, the slightly darker bands where ropes press against it. Now and then, a whisper of breeze stirs a corner, making the fabric lift and settle with a soft sigh. The wind is light this evening, almost absent. It brushes lightly past your face, cool but not cold, as if it is testing the night before fully arriving. There is no harsh gust, no flapping canvas, no straining rope. The air's movement matches the river's pace, measured, unhurried, almost meditative. But the river itself is moving north, as it always does, patient and unhurried. You can feel its direction in the subtle tilt of the boat, in the way the hull leans ever so slightly into the current. It is like walking on a very slow-moving walkway, effortless, steady, with a sense of being carried towards something far away and yet not urgent. Your boat simply rides the flow. Behind you, on the western horizon, the last thread of orange fades. For a moment the sky holds both colors, burnt gold low down, deep blue above, like two layers of time resting together. You watch as the orange narrows, becoming first a band, then a line, then only a memory of warmth against the edge of the world. At last, even that faint radiance is gone. Then even that band darkens, and night settles fully. It feels less like a curtain dropping and more like a soft blanket being drawn gently over the landscape. The shapes of distant hills, roofs, and groves do not disappear, they simply become quieter, less insistent, less eager to be seen. The world around you exhales. The coolness in the air slowly strengthens. It does not bite or sting, it diffuses, touching every exposed part of you with an even, refreshing hand. The stones of the riverbanks, the planks of the boat, the ropes and mats and cloth, all of them begin to release the heat they stored during the day. You can almost feel that warmth lifting away, rising into the night, leaving everything calm and neutral. You rest your hands on the railing. The wood is smooth where many hands have rested before, worn to a gentle curve. Under your palms, you can feel faint ridges and depressions, the memory of tool marks softened by years of use. It is the kind of surface that invites touch, reassuring you with its solidity and familiarity. Moisture from rising night dew cools your fingers. The wood feels slightly damp, not wet enough to be uncomfortable, just enough to remind you that the air is changing. Tiny beads of water form in the grooves and along the grain, invisible in the low light but present against your skin. It is as if the boat itself is drinking in the night. The world narrows to simple sensations: wood, air, water, breath. You do not need to think about far-off places or old stories, about duties or decisions. For a few long moments, your entire existence is the feel of the railing under your hands, the temperature of the air on your cheeks, the soft, repetitive sound of water against the hull, and the calm rise and fall of your own chest. From somewhere across the river, temple chanting begins. It is very faint, carried by the night air and thinned by distance. At first you are not sure whether you are hearing it at all, or whether your mind is simply imagining a sound that belongs to such a night. Then, gradually, it becomes unmistakable, a low, rhythmic hum that rides over the water. You can't make out the words, only the rise and fall of many voices moving together. The sound is like breathing turned into speech, or like waves of sound rolling in and then receding. The chanting has a pattern, but not one you can easily grasp. It washes over you in long, smooth phrases, each one settling into the next without a break. It sounds less like speech and more like a low, steady hum. The priests are welcoming the night. You picture them in the outer courts of the temple, lined up in careful order, white linen garments catching lamplight. They might be standing before tall columns painted with lotus and papyrus, or before carved walls that still hold the colors of stories older than anyone alive. Their voices rise together, directed not just to the air, but to the unseen presences they tend. Somewhere beyond your sight, they are washing their hands in cool water, lighting fresh lamps, opening the doors of inner shrines. You imagine the clear sound of water poured from a jar into a shallow basin, the quick, efficient movements of hands being purified. You can almost see the small flames leaping up as new wicks catch, the glow spreading across polished stone floors. Wooden doors open on carefully tended chambers, hinges making the softest of sounds. They will change the robes of the gods' images, burn Kifi incense to sweeten the air, and speak the old words that have been spoken since before anyone can remember. The divine statues, hidden in precious shrines, will be offered clean garments, polished jewelry, and gentle gestures of care. The smoke of incense will coil upward, touching ceiling and beam, then curling back downward to wrap around altars and pedestals. Every phrase spoken, every movement made, will follow patterns laid down generations ago. Their world is stone, flame, fragrance, and sacred routine. Heavy door leaves, cool to the touch, carved hieroglyphs that hold prayers in the shapes of birds and reeds and seated figures, steady lamp flames that never completely go out. The priests move within this world like parts of a great, well-tuned instrument, each one knowing when to sing, when to step forward, when to fall silent. They are the caretakers of a peace that belongs to more than just one night. Those voices drift across the water like a gentle veil. They are thin here on the river, but still distinct enough to be felt, like a fine cloth brushing over your skin. The sound does not break the quiet, it deepens it, giving it a subtle pattern, a slow, pulsing life. You feel as though you are hearing the surface of something vast, the echo of words that aim beyond human hearing. They mix with the soft rustle of palm fronds on the bank, and the occasional splash of a fish rising briefly to the surface. The palms move in the light breeze with a complex, layered whisper, each frond rubbing gently against its neighbor. Now and then, the smooth, sudden sound of water being broken rings out as some unseen fish comes up for a moment and then disappears again. These sounds do not interrupt each other, they weave together. The sounds layer themselves slowly, carefully, never crowding, never breaking the calm. Temple chant, wind, river, distant hints of human life, they all find their own spaces in the night's wide chamber. Nothing feels too loud, too sharp, or out of place. Everything fits into place. If your breathing has already slowed a little, you can let it slow more. You do not have to force it or count it. You can simply notice when the air comes in, cool and soft, and when it leaves, a little warmer, a little more relaxed. Each breath can be as unhurried as the current beneath the boat. There is no need to do anything special. You are not trying to achieve a particular state or reach a specific thought. You are simply here, on this moving piece of wood, in this open slice of night, with this gently flowing air in your lungs. That is more than enough. Just notice the air moving in and out, like the Nile flowing past the boat. In, out. Forward, onward. Easy, steady, without effort. You look up. Above you, the sky has become a vast, dark bowl filled with stars. They are so clear, so numerous, that it seems they might spill from the heavens into the river at any moment. Your eyes wander from one cluster to another, never reaching an edge. The Milky Way stretches like a pale river of light across the darker sky. It crosses above you from one horizon to the other, a soft, luminous band that seems to echo the Nile's own path below. Where its light is densest, the stars almost merge into a continuous glow, like mist lit from within. Elsewhere, single points stand out brighter, as if they have stepped forward from the crowd. The Egyptians say that this is the body of Nut, the sky goddess. They imagine her arched over the world, fingers and toes touching the ground beyond the horizon. Her body is the vault above you, her curves traced by the line of faint stars. Every star is a light on her skin. When the sun disappears, they say, she has swallowed it for safekeeping. In the morning, she will give it back to the world, reborn from her eastern flank. The journey of the sun across the sky is, to them, also the journey of the sun within her, carried and shielded through darkness. Night is not emptiness in their stories, it is a time of holding. Somewhere, deep below the horizon, the sun god Ra is traveling through the Duat, the unseen realm, in his hidden bark. He passes through gates and caverns, watched over by other gods and the blessed dead. There are challenges and guardians there, images painted on tomb walls in bright colors, but here on the surface of the world, you feel only the quiet side of that journey. You sense the idea of motion and protection, not the details of struggle. In the morning, he will be reborn from Nut's eastern flank, as he is every day. The sky will grow pale again, the stars will fade, the temples and villages will be bathed in sharp, bright light. But that is far away from you now, part of another time. For now, his journey is secret, and the sky belongs to the stars. You are a small, quiet passenger on another kind of boat, on another kind of journey. Your bark does not pass through painted caverns, but along this dark river, between fields and cliffs and sleeping towns. Yet the rhythm is the same, steady, endless, comforting. The sense of being carried by something larger than yourself is the same. The boat rocks gently. You sway with it, your body unconsciously matching the water's slow pulse. Even if you remained perfectly still, your inner sense of balance would shift back and forth in time with the hull. It is like being rocked in a cradle that has known many sleepers. The steersman glances toward you and gives the smallest nod. The gesture is brief, almost invisible in the dim light, but it holds recognition. He is not surprised to see you awake. Many travelers stay up for at least part of the river night. There is a certain sacredness to these hours that even the most practical boatman understands. The quiet feels different from daytime silences, the silence of waiting, of work between tasks. This is a chosen stillness, a time when the world steps back and lets small, soft things come forward. The steersman has spent a lifetime within this hush. He adjusts the oar with a tiny movement. The hull murmurs as the angle changes, then settles again. The difference is slight, more a shift in tone than in volume, like a musician changing a single note in a long, sustained chord. The river receives the new position and answers with a barely noticeable change in the way it presses against the wood. The creak of wood, the hiss of water against the planks, the soft beat of fabric as the sail stirs, these are his familiar companions. They are the sounds that tell him where he is, how the current is moving, what the wind is planning. He hears in them things you do not, small warnings and reassurances encoded in pitch and rhythm. Tonight, they become yours as well. Ahead, the river bends slightly. The change in direction is subtle, the boat leans a fraction to one side as it begins to follow the curve. Out beyond the bow, the line of the banks shifts, the western shore drawing closer in one place and farther away in another. The stars overhead remain steady, but the silhouette of the land rearranges itself. On the inner curve, the western bank, you see the dark line of cultivated fields, briefly touched by starlight where the land rises. The fields are a low, even expanse, divided by faint lines where ridges and channels run. Though you cannot see the crops clearly, the structure of the land speaks of human care. Boundaries, furrows, irrigation paths carved over years of repetition. The earth here is accustomed to being shaped and watered. Beyond them, silhouettes of low hills and higher cliffs rise, marking the edges of the desert and the long necropolis where kings sleep in their unseen valleys. The hills at first are gentle swells, then steeper slopes, then sheer faces of rock that cut into the sky. You cannot distinguish any single tomb, any specific entrance or valley, all of that hides behind distance and darkness. What you sense instead is a vast presence, stone above, stone below, stone around. If your thoughts wander to other things for a moment, worries, memories, stray images, you can let them drift out over the water. They don't need to be solved tonight. You can imagine them dissolving into the river like drops of ink in dark water, thinning, fading, gone. Whatever tries to cling can be washed away, carried downstream to a place you never have to visit. The boat passes a cluster of riverside houses. Their shapes are simple, rectangles of mud brick, flat roofs, low walls. Closer to the water, low steps or sloping paths lead down to the river's edge, where people drew water during the day and washed clothes in jars. Now, those places are empty, just pale smudges of stone and earth beside the darker band of the river. Most are completely dark now, the people within already wrapped in sleep. Doorways that were busy crossings of light and movement a short time ago are just solid surfaces in the night. The small courtyards where grain was winnowed and tools were stored are still. Even animals kept in small enclosures have quieted, their sounds reduced to occasional shifting and breathing. From one house, a faint glow leaks through a doorway curtain, a family's last lamp of the night. The fabric softens the light, turning it into a warm, diffuse shape that doesn't quite reach the ground outside. You imagine the lamp itself sitting just inside, casting shadows on packed earth, on woven baskets, on the curve of a sleeping mat. That glow is a small world unto itself. You hear the distant bleat of a goat being coaxed into a pen. The sound comes in short, uneven bursts, as if the animal is half protesting, half cooperating. A woman's voice murmurs something soft and tired. Even though you cannot hear the words, you can feel the rhythm of reassurance in them. A child protests in a small, half-awake cry, then quiets again. The sound rises like a brief flare and then is quickly hushed, as if a gentle hand has come to rest on a small shoulder, or a familiar blanket has been pulled up. The night takes even this small noise and smooths it down. Soon, only the river is loud enough to reach you clearly. A doorbar drops into place with a dull, comforting thump. The noise is solid, wooden, sure. It signals the end of the day's open door time, the moment when the world outside is politely, calmly kept at bay. Within those walls, people can surrender themselves fully to sleep. The river carries you past this little world in a minute, then it lies behind you. What was once just ahead of the bow becomes a beam, then a stern, then part of the soft, undifferentiated darkness you have already passed. You have touched the village only with your eyes and ears, and now even those impressions grow faint. Another village appears ahead, then another. Each one offers a brief window into ordinary lives, bread ovens cooling, water jars lined up against walls, tools laid aside until dawn. By the fading glow of a single lamp, you can sometimes see the rounded mouths of large storage jars, sealed for the night. In another courtyard, the dome of a clay oven stands out as a paler lump against darker surroundings, its heat slowly leaking away. At this hour, even labor looks peaceful. On one low roof, two figures sit with their feet dangling over the edge. Their shapes are simple and dark, distinguishable only by outline, the curve of a shoulder, the tilt of a head. You glimpse them just long enough to notice them leaning shoulder to shoulder, heads tilted back to watch the stars. They do not move much, and they do not need to. They do not notice your boat. From their vantage point, the river is simply a quiet strip of darkness beyond the edge of their world. Perhaps they hear the faint sound of the hull cutting through the water, but if they do, it does not draw their attention away from the sky. They are content simply to sit together in the warm night air. A slight breeze whispers up the length of the river. It touches your face with a cool, almost silky hand, then moves on toward the bow. You can see its effect before you fully register its presence. The lamp flame leans slightly, the surface of the water darkens in tiny ripples, the tops of the palms on the bank stir. The breeze feels as if it has been traveling a long way to reach you. The sail stirs again, then fills, pulling just enough to share the work with the current. Canvas lifts and rounds, slow and graceful, the ropes tightening with a small, contented creak. The boat responds by leaning almost imperceptibly, only a few degrees, then settles into this new balance. The change is gentle, like a sigh. The steersman shifts his stance, feet firm on the matting. He angles his body slightly, aligning himself with the new pull of wind and water. His hands adjust on the oar, not with effort, but with the calm automaticity of someone changing position in sleep. Nothing about him suggests strain, he is simply maintaining a long-practiced conversation with the river. A crewman near the mast checks a rope, fingers moving quickly but without urgency. He runs his hand along the line, feeling for any unexpected roughness or slack. The rope answers him with familiar resistance, its fibers bearing the memory of many such nights. Satisfied, he lets it rest again, coil resting where it should. They have done this every day and every night of their adult lives. For them, the Nile is not a mystery, but a familiar path. They know where currents run strongest, where sandbars shift, where the wind prefers to rise. Their knowledge is not written down anywhere, but it lives in their muscles, in the tiny decisions they make without thinking. The smell of the river rises stronger now. Cool, earthy, rich with silt that has traveled from far to the south. There is a faint hint of reeds, of algae, of ancient mud turned over and over again by countless seasons of flood and retreat. It is not unpleasant, it smells like continuity, like something that has always been there. If your eyes are starting to feel heavy, you can let them. You do not have to keep them open to stay here. The river, the boat, the night will continue whether you witness every moment or not. You can listen instead, the water, the wood, the breath of the night. The story will go on whether you are watching or dreaming. You can drift away for a time and return, or not return at all until morning, nothing crucial will be missed. The Nile is always in motion, but it is never in a hurry. You are allowed to be slower than the river itself. On the eastern bank, the dark mass of a temple grows slowly out of the night. At first, you see only a low line against the sky, a slight interruption in the horizontality of the land. Then the distinctive wide, sloping sides of its gateway pylons become clear, like two immense, leaning doorposts that frame the night itself. Between them is a black space, the entrance to a world of stone and carved stories. Columns stand behind, barely visible, like a forest turned to rock. Their tops may be shaped like lotus buds or open papyrus flowers, but in this dimness they are only rounded shadows. You sense their number more than you see each one, a cluster of upright forms holding up an unseen roof. Within that forest of stone, the air would smell of incense and cool dust. Closer to the river, small lamps burn along a narrow quay. Their flames scatter light on the wet stones and quiver in the shallow water. Each lamp is its own small attention point, a bright core surrounded by a halo, reflecting in the slick, damp surfaces nearby. Together, they outline the edge of the temple's world where it touches the Nile. You can angle your gaze and see the reflections, thin, trembling streaks of orange stretching and breaking with each tiny wave. When a slight swell rolls in from some distant boat or sandbar, the streaks lengthen, the light bending and shivering. For a moment, it's as if a necklace of fire has been laid along the river's edge. Then the water smooths, and the necklace becomes a series of separate gems again. From within the temple, the smell of kifi drifts outward. It is richer and more complex than the daytime incense used in busy rituals. There is sweetness in it, honey, wine, dried fruits, melded with warm resins and herbs. The fragrance moves across the water in slow, invisible waves. You breathe it in without effort. The scent arrives, settles in your nose, and then seems to sink deeper, into the back of your throat, your chest. Some part of you, older than your conscious mind, relaxes at the scent. It feels as though the air itself is saying, gently, that the day is over. The Egyptians say kifi soothes both gods and people, easing the day out of the heart and inviting sleep. They burn it in the inner rooms of temples in the evening, letting its sweetness wind through halls and around shrines. The same smoke that curls around the heads of divine statues also slips through cracks and out over courtyards and streets. It lingers in your nose, like a blessing. In the courtyard of the temple, priests in fine white linen walk with bare steps over cool stone. Their garments catch the lamplight, the folds of cloth turning from pale cream to soft gold as they move. They carry small dishes of offerings, bread, dates, roasted fowl, jars of beer, small bunches of water lilies with their faint, clean scent. Their shaved heads gleam in lamplight, faces calm, movements precise. You cannot see the inner sanctuary from here, but you can imagine it. A small, dark room, walls dense with painted reliefs that tell stories of gods and kings, of offerings and journeys, of protection and rebirth. On a stone pedestal, a wooden shrine, its doors opened for the night ritual. Inside, the image of the god rests, hidden in shadow and incense smoke. One priest lifts the censer, and the smoke of kifi rises thicker. The glowing coals within the small metal bowl throw off a deeper red in their centers, a brighter orange at their edges. The priest's arm moves in a slow, practiced arc, scattering scented smoke into every corner of the space. Another touches a small loaf to the base of the shrine's doors, murmuring a formula. The god does not move, but in Egyptian understanding, the divine presence tastes the essence of the offerings, accepts the scent, and blesses the night. No dramatic sign is expected, the fulfillment of the ritual itself is the assurance. The priests leave the bread and beer in place, not because the god needs physical food, but because the act of giving is a bridge between realms. In time, the offerings will go to the temple staff, but for now, they belong to the god. All of this happens far away on the bank, yet you feel as if you are included. The river between you and the temple is not a barrier, but a connecting path. The same kifi that swirls around the shrine's doors reaches your nose, the same lamplight that gilds stone and linen reflects faintly on the water by your boat. Their chants and the soft chime of a sistrum reach you as whispers carried by water and air. You are part of the same rhythm, even as you float on. You are not in the courtyard, but you are not entirely outside it either. On the Nile, boundaries are always a little blurred. What happens on one bank sends ripples, literal and figurative, to the other. You ride those ripples quietly. The boat moves on, leaving the temple behind like a slow-fading memory. The pylons sink back into the general darkness of the land, their sharp outlines turning to mere hints at the horizon. The lamps on the quay grow smaller, their reflections thinning into narrow streaks, then sparks, then nothing. The smell of kifi thins until it is only a suggestion. The voices become indistinct, absorbed into the larger silence of the night. The chanting that once seemed to fill the air now feels like a faint echo, then a possibility, then simply part of the night's texture, impossible to isolate. Soon there is only the river again, broad, dark, endless. The water reasserts its quiet dominance, patient and unchanging. Above the west bank, the cliffs of the necropolis rise, unseen but felt. You know they are there not because you can see every crag and ledge, but because the darkness above the land is differently shaped. There is a taller, heavier portion of sky, a mass where stars are fewer, where the horizon seems thicker. Your eyes sense volume even when detail is gone. Somewhere behind them, in valleys carved by time and hand, kings lie in painted rock-cut tombs. Their bodies rest in stone chambers deep within the hills, wrapped in linen, surrounded by objects meant to accompany them into eternity. Their names and deeds are carefully written on walls that no living villager will ever see. Guarded by stone and ritual, they keep their silence through the centuries. Yet even their secret chambers are part of this same world tonight. The same starlight that touches your skin touches the doorways of their tombs. The same cool air flows down into hidden passages and across your face on the boat. The same river that carried their funeral barks carries you now. If your thoughts become foggy, if the boundary between your body and the boat begins to blur, that is welcome. You can soften around the edges. You are safe here, between water and sky, between sleeping land and traveling current. Nothing will hurry you. The crew begins to settle into their night rhythm. You can feel the shift as clearly as you feel the change in temperature or the angle of the sail. Tasks that required standing, checking, tightening, and calling across the deck are now done. The boat has entered that long, steady phase of the journey where little needs to be adjusted, and time stretches gently. Two men finish checking the ropes, then roll out their sleeping mats near the mast. The mats unroll with a soft rustle, reed fibers brushing against the wooden deck. They place them without much thought, in spots their bodies already know, between certain coils of rope, just far enough from the mast base, within reach of some familiar object they might touch in the dark if they wake. These are places chosen by habit and comfort, not by measurement. One stretches his arms slowly overhead, joints crackling faintly in the quiet. The sound is tiny, but in the stillness it is noticeable, like dry twigs gently shifting underfoot. He lets his shoulders roll, loosening the last remnants of the day's effort from his muscles. The motion is not hurried, it has the unself-conscious laziness of someone who has done honest work and knows it is finished. The other lies down at once, folding an arm beneath his head like a pillow. His body settles into the mat as if it has been waiting all day for this exact sensation. He turns slightly onto one side, knees drawing up a little, back curving in a familiar arc. Within a few breaths, his chest is already moving in the slower rhythm of someone on the threshold of sleep. Near the stern, the steersman remains at his post, but his stance has eased. The river here is wide and predictable, the current steady. His hands still hold the steering oar, but his grip is light, almost resting. Years of practice let his body respond without conscious thought. You notice the way his feet are placed, one slightly ahead of the other, toes angled just so, ready to shift weight without strain. His shoulders are relaxed, not hunched, his head is tilted in a listening posture, as if the river is talking directly to him and he is simply nodding along. He is as much a part of the boat as the mast or the planks. If he were to leave his position, you suspect the boat might miss him. A young boy, perhaps an apprentice, perhaps the son of one of the crew, sits cross-legged beside a coil of rope. The rope itself is thick and heavy, wound into a neat, rounded nest on the deck. The boy's small figure is tucked up against it, his back leaning into its solid curve as if it were a wall or a cushion. He traces small patterns on the mat with one fingertip, eyelids drooping. Now and then he glances toward the bank, as if expecting to see something wonderful, but mostly he fights sleep the way children often do. His head nods forward and then snaps up again, eyes widening briefly in exaggerated wakefulness. A moment later, they drift closed, only for him to jerk them open once more, unwilling to miss even a single interesting thing. soon he will lose. You can see the weight slowly gathering in his body, shoulders sagging, spine softening, hand movements becoming slower and less precise. His patterns on the mat lose their shape, turning from deliberate designs into vague swirls. His breath, too, begins to deepen, each exhale slightly longer than the one before. The night is slowly winning its gentle argument with his stubbornness. If your own inner child still tries to stay awake, that too can soften. There is nothing here to miss, because nothing sudden will happen. No important moment will slip past unseen if you close your eyes. The gift of this night is not excitement, but the gentle luxury of not needing to stay alert. You are allowed to drift. You are allowed to let your awareness ebb and flow like the river itself. You can pay close attention for a while, then slide into a hazier state, then return for a brief moment before drifting away again. The night does not demand consistency from you. The boat slides past a grove of date palms. In the starlight, their trunks are dark pillars rising from the unseen ground. They stand in irregular rows, planted by human hands but now so familiar to the land that they seem native to it. Their long, feathered fronds sway gently high above, sounding like layered whispers when the breeze catches them. The air under their shadow feels slightly cooler, almost damp. You can sense the difference even at this distance, as if the palms are small wells of night, pulling heat out of the air around them. The scent of their leaves and of the earth they shade rides toward you in a faint, green note. In the day, these groves are places of labor and harvest, now they are places of rest. Beyond the palms, you glimpse small irrigation channels glinting like brief veins of silver in the fields. They run straight and narrow, cut carefully from the Nile's edge into the farmland. Where a star's reflection finds them, they shine for a moment, thin and bright, then disappear again into the darker earth. These channels are the quiet, disciplined handwriting of the farmers on the land. Though you can't see the crops clearly, you know the pattern by heart: barley, emmer wheat, flax, perhaps beans and vegetables for the nearby village. By day, the fields are bright and busy, workers bent over rows, animals pulling plows, children carrying small bundles of gathered plants. Tools clink against stone, voices call back and forth, and the sun presses down with unrelenting intensity. By night, they sleep. You can almost feel the plants themselves resting, leaves folded, stems still, sap moving more slowly. The soil, recently watered from the channels, releases a quiet, earthy smell into the cooling air. All the motion that filled these rows under the daylight is gone, replaced by a single, shared stillness. The land is taking a long, deep breath. A single ox stands near the edge of a field, its broad back a soft, rounded shape against the horizon. It flicks its tail lazily, ears twitching at some tiny sound. Its head is lowered, heavy horns curving like dark crescents in the starlight. Even in near darkness, the animal's solidity is evident. Its world is simple: grass, water, the pull of the plow. Today it may have walked back and forth across this field in long, straight lines, drawing the plowshare through the soil. Now its muscles are resting, its work done, its mind turned to nothing more complex than whether it will lie down soon. Tonight, it too enjoys the cooler air and the absence of flies. The smell of damp earth reaches you for a moment as the breeze shifts. It is rich, dark, newly watered. There is a hint of clay in it, a suggestion of decomposed leaves and turned furrows, of seeds lying unseen below the surface. It is a smell that speaks of cycles, of seasons, of patience. This is the soil the Nile renews every year, carrying black silt from far upriver. When the waters rise and spread out over these fields, they leave behind a new layer of fertile mud, a thin, generous gift from distant lands. The farmers shape it, plant it, coax life out of it, knowing that it will be refreshed again. It has fed generations, and it will continue to do so long after this night has passed. A faint plucking sound reaches across the water, harp strings being touched in some nearby house or small shrine. The notes are slow and spaced out, as if someone is playing for themselves, not for an audience. Each tone rises into the air and hangs there for a moment before fading, leaving a small, sweet emptiness behind. A simple pattern repeats, then wanders, then returns again, like a thought carried on breath. Perhaps it is a temple musician, resting after the evening ritual, fingers still drawn to the familiar instrument. Perhaps it is a father soothing a child. Perhaps a young woman alone on a roof, playing to the stars and to her own reflection in the darkness. You do not know, and you do not need to. The sound is delicate, almost fragile, but the river carries it clearly. It floats over you like a thread of silver, then dissolves back into the night. Your ears follow it with the same quiet attention they give to the water's murmur and the wind's touch. For a while afterward, your mind continues it silently, filling in missing notes, letting the melody drift inward. If your thoughts drift in the same way, you can let them. They can become softer, less precise, like music half remembered. You don't need sharp edges in your mind now. Blurred shapes are enough. You decide to sit down on the deck. The reed matting yields slightly under your weight, flexible but firm. You feel the subtle give as your body presses the woven fibers down, the mat distributing your weight evenly across the planks. It is not as soft as a bed, but there is something deeply comforting in its simplicity. You stretch your legs out, feet toward the low railing, back resting comfortably against a stack of coiled rope. The rope is firm and supportive behind you, its coils forming a rounded cushion that fits neatly into the curve of your spine. Your heels rest on the mat, toes pointed lightly toward the river's edge, ankles relaxed. The position feels natural, easy to maintain. The night air strokes your skin with a fine, cool touch. It finds the places where the day's heat still lingers, along your shoulders, at the back of your neck, and gradually draws it out. It slips under the edges of your clothing, between fabric and body, smoothing away any remaining stickiness or tension. With each breath, your skin feels a little more aligned with the temperature of the night. Your muscles notice that they are no longer required to brace against anything. They loosen incrementally, like knots being untied. The small stabilizing muscles around your spine and hips, used to adjusting to the day's movements, begin to let go. Your legs rest heavier on the mat, your shoulders drift down and outward. You rest your hands in your lap. Your fingers curl slightly of their own accord. The urge to move, to adjust, to correct, begins to fade. Stillness no longer feels like an effort, but like a reward. If your eyelids wish to lower, they can. You can keep them half open, allowing only a narrow strip of night to slip through. Or you can close them entirely, and simply listen and feel. The Nile will not disappear if you look away. You can let the world exist as sound and sensation alone, the faint creak of the mast, the soft exhale of the steersman, the distant, barely audible rustle of palm fronds. Underneath it all, the constant background of water against wood. These sounds are gentle enough to fade into the background of your awareness, yet steady enough to reassure you that you are not alone. They are the lullaby of the river. A little later, the steersman calls out something brief and quiet. It is more habit than necessity, a ceremonial acknowledgement to the river and to his crew. The sound is low and even, more like a statement to the night than an instruction. It marks a moment in the unseen rhythm of his work. One of the men by the mast lifts his head, nods once, then lies back down. The movement is minimal, a sign that all is well and understood. No one needs to get up, no one needs to change position. The boat continues as it was. The boy beside the rope has finally succumbed to sleep. His head has tipped sideways to rest against the coarse fibers of the coil. His hands, which were drawing patterns earlier, now lie open and loose on the mat. His breathing has taken on that deep, unself-conscious rhythm only children manage, complete trust in the space they occupy. The boat passes near a low sandbar. You hear the water change as it flows around the shallows, a softer, more complicated sound, full of tiny ripples. It is as though the river is whispering to itself over a secret, hidden just beneath the surface. The tone lifts slightly, brightens, then falls again as the depth increases. For a moment, the boat's movement becomes more pronounced, a gentle sideways sway as the current adjusts. You feel a small shift under your hips, a slight tilt, and then a gradual righting. Your body responds fluidly, without thought, like a reed bending in the wind and then returning to its original shape. Then you are past it, and the old rhythm returns. On the sandbar itself, a line of night birds stands motionless, long legs in the shallow water. Their bodies are pale smudges against the darker river. They face into the faint breeze, feathers smooth and close to their bodies, heads tucked in or slightly down. Their reflections waver beneath them, elongating and dissolving with each minor movement of the water. When the boat draws near, one bird lifts its head, considers, then folds its beak back into its feathers again. It knows the boat is not a threat. It has seen many like it pass before, at different hours, under different skies, carrying different people. You are just one more fleeting presence in its long, quiet vigil. The Nile has seen so many boats that even the birds treat them as part of the landscape. Big transport barges heavy with grain, slim fishing skiffs, royal vessels with painted sides and bright canopies. They all leave ripples in the water and memories in the minds of those who sail them, but the river itself remains the same. Tonight, your boat is just one more, passing through the great, slow memory of the river. On the horizon, a faint glow appears above the eastern bank. It is not the dawn, the night is far from over. It is the combined light of many lamps in a larger town, perhaps even the outskirts of Thebes itself. The glow forms a soft, low dome, tinged with yellow. As the boat draws nearer, individual points of light resolve themselves. Torches by the water, where goods are unloaded. Lamps in the upper chambers of temple complexes. Sparks from small household fires where the last embers are banked for the night. You see the darker block of a quay wall, the upright lines of wooden posts, the blurred motion of a few late workers moving cargo under the stars. Even now, some business continues. Fish must be prepared, grain measured, ropes coiled for the morning. The Nile's commerce never truly stops, it only quiets. You can make out the silhouettes of baskets carried from boat to shore, of bundles being stacked on platforms, of nets being folded and put away. Voices mingle in brief exchanges, kept low out of courtesy for those already asleep in nearby houses. Occasionally, a brighter flare marks the moment when a torch is adjusted or a brand is thrust deeper into a brazier. Then the light settles again to its steady glow. Your boat does not pull in. Tonight, you are simply passing, a silent observer. From your place on the deck, you watch the town slip by, then slide behind you, until its glow becomes once more just a distant smudge in the sky. Lights merge back into a single, soft halo, then fade altogether. If you notice that you have no desire to talk, no urge to comment on anything you see, you can welcome that. The part of you that makes words can rest, too. You can just let images, sounds, and sensations wash through you like water around the hull. No response is required. Some time passes, measured in breaths and in quiet scenes at the edge of your perception. A dog barks once on a far bank, then is hushed. A shooting star streaks briefly across Nut's dark belly and vanishes. The boat creaks and sighs as the temperature continues to drop. The wooden planks beneath you cool along with the air. You can feel the change through the matting, a slow migration of residual warmth out of the wood, up into the night. The deck no longer holds the memory of the sun's heat, it has aligned itself fully with the hour. Your body, resting on it, follows. You shift slightly, finding a more comfortable angle, and even this small motion feels slowed, softened. There is no rush in the way you move your legs, settle your shoulders differently, tilt your head to one side. Every adjustment is smooth and minimal, like the tiny corrections of the boat itself as it rides the current. Once you settle again, stillness finds you more easily. In the distance, another temple stands on a rise overlooking the river. Its outline is simpler, perhaps older, less massive than the one you passed before. But one thing is the same, a single, unwavering lamp in the innermost sanctuary, burning through the night. The small point of light glows steadily, not flickering, not wavering. The Egyptians keep at least one flame alive before their gods at all times. It is a sign that the world is still in order, that the covenant between human and divine is still honored. As long as that flame burns, somewhere in the darkness, people feel less alone. They know that someone, or something, is watching over the night with them. You picture a narrow room deep within the temple, its walls close and cool, its air dense with the residue of many years of incense smoke. In the center, a small basin or lamp filled with oil, the wick emerging like a slender reed. The flame is modest, but the shadows it pushes back are profound. Outside, entire villages sleep under its unofficial protection. If your own inner flame, your attention, flickers, that is all right. You don't have to hold it steady. It can dance, dim, brighten, or go out into sleep. This night does not depend on you. Eventually, a crewman approaches you with a folded linen cloth. He offers it with a small, respectful gesture, as if he has done this many times. The cloth has a faint stiffness at its edges, where the threads are more tightly woven, and a softer give in the middle, where many bodies have rested under it. It is a simple covering for the cool hours ahead, nothing more. The fabric is light, but it retains a gentle warmth from being held. As you take it, you feel the residual heat of the crewman's hands, a human warmth that bridges the distance between his work and your rest. It is a kindness so ordinary that it almost goes unnoticed, yet it changes the way the night feels against your skin. You drape it over your shoulders and chest. The linen smells faintly of sun-dried fiber and the day's sweat of whoever used it before. There is a trace of river air in it as well, a faint memory of dampness that has long since evaporated. It is not perfumed, not special, but its scent is honest and grounding. It smells like work, like rest, like continuity. It settles on you with almost no weight, yet your body responds to the new layer with a deep sense of comfort. The border between air and skin feels kinder now. The coolness of the night becomes softer, filtered through the fabric. Your chest rises and falls beneath it, the cloth lifting and settling in time with your breath. You slide down further until you are half reclining, back supported by a coil of rope or a folded bundle, head tilting back to rest. The line between sitting and lying blurs, you are not entirely upright, nor entirely horizontal. It is the perfect angle for drifting, for seeing and not seeing, for listening without the urge to turn your head. Your body recognizes it and relaxes into it. Your gaze finds the stars almost automatically. They seem nearer now, more familiar, as if they have been watching you for some time and are pleased you have finally noticed them properly. The longer you look, the more of them you see, tiny ones that nestle between the brighter points, faint smudges that hint at more distant clusters. The sky feels full but not overwhelming, generous but not demanding. Your breathing is slow and even. Your feet are still, your hands quiet. You have entered the kind of stillness that does not feel forced, but natural, like the stillness of anchored boats or sleeping animals. It is a stillness that lets sound come to you, instead of sending you out to seek it. If your eyes close now and stay closed, nothing will be lost. You can listen to the rest with that soft, hazy awareness that floats between waking and sleep. You are safe here, held by the boat, the river, and the endless sky. You can surrender layers of attention as easily as you would slip off pieces of clothing at the end of a long day. At some point, the steersman guides the boat closer to the middle of the river. Here, the current is gentle and consistent, with no hidden sandbars or unexpected shallows. The oars' movements become smaller, more occasional. The boat glides with even more assurance, its path almost entirely defined by the Nile's own flow. The night has reached its deepest hour. The world is as quiet as it will ever be. Most lamps in the villages are out, most fires are just a curl of ash and faintly glowing charcoal. Even the temple chanting has become more sporadic, as the priests finish their long duties and allow themselves to rest. Above, the stars are thick and bright. You can pick out a familiar pattern here and there, but mostly you let them be a single, shimmering field. To the Egyptians, some of these lights are the souls of the blessed dead, sailing forever with Ra or resting in Nut's great body. To you, they are simply beautiful. The Nile below mirrors that beauty in broken, shifting fragments. When you look down, you see stars not only above you but beneath you, rippling on the dark surface. The boat passes through them without disturbing them. It feels, briefly, as if you are floating through the sky itself. From the western bank, the cliffs grow closer to the river again. Their faces are mostly invisible, but you can sense their height, like a presence at the edge of your vision. Somewhere in those cliffs, narrow stairways and hidden paths climb to small shrines and tomb entrances. By day, workers and mourners pass along those paths. By night, only the wind and small creatures do. The villagers believe that the spirits of the blessed walk out of their tombs in the cool hours, wandering invisibly among their descendants, watching over fields and homes. Not as ghosts to fear, but as honored ancestors who still care. They, too, might be listening to the faint lap of your boat's passage, the murmur of wood and water. You feel no chill at the thought. In this culture, death is a continuation, not an ending. The river connects the world of the living and the world of the dead, flowing between temple and tomb, east and west. Traveling on it at night is like moving along the seam between two gentle fabrics. You are gliding along that seam now, without resistance. If your mind drifts toward your own ancestors, the people who shaped your life, you can let that be tender, not sharp. They can be like distant lamps on a far bank, soft, steady, not demanding anything from you. Just present, quietly wishing you rest. You do not need to think of them in detail, it is enough to feel that you are not entirely alone in time. A small, low-lying island appears ahead, dark against the lighter surface of the river. The steersman murmurs a brief note to himself, adjusting the oar almost automatically. The boat glides to the left of the island, the water's voice changing again as it streams between sand and hull. On the island, there is little more than a few bushes and a scatter of stones near the waterline. But at its center stands a solitary palm. Its trunk rises straight, then bends slightly toward the river, as if listening. In the starlight, it looks like a watchful figure. The fronds at its crown move gently, even when the air feels still where you are. The boat passes within a comfortable distance, neither too near nor too far. For a few seconds, the palm tree aligns with a bright star behind it, merging trunk and light into a single column. Then the angle changes, and they separate again. The moment is small, but it imprints itself on your quietly resting mind. Soon the island is behind you. Where it was, there is only water again, smooth and confident. The river seems endless, but in a way that is reassuring rather than overwhelming, like a lullaby that could go on all night. Its repetition is gentle, never tiring. On the deck, one of the crew turns in his sleep, pulling his mat closer to yours without waking. His quiet breathing joins the sounds around you. It is slow and deep, the kind of breathing that belongs to someone who trusts the night. You find yourself matching it without trying. The young boy, curled beside the rope coil, murmurs something in his dream, then goes still again. His small hand, resting on the mat, relaxes completely, fingers uncurling. Even those who work on the river learn to surrender to its embrace after a while. The boat has become, for all of you, a moving bedroom. Your own body has become heavy in the best possible way. Your limbs feel firmly placed, not stiff but anchored. There is no need to rearrange them. The urge to shift position has faded almost entirely. If you notice, distantly, that you are already in the borderland between waking and sleep, you don't need to step away from it. You can stay there, on that comfortable threshold, as long as you like. Or you can cross it fully into dreams. The boat will carry you either way. Very far to the south, unseen from where you lie, another boat begins its morning journey. Somewhere north, invisible beyond bends and distances, a fisherman is just now banking his fire and rolling up his mat to begin the day. The Nile holds all these movements at once: boats that start, boats that stop, people who rise, people who lie down. You are a single, quiet point in this vast, gentle network. Tonight, your role is to do nothing, to go nowhere by your own effort. The current does the traveling. You are simply being carried. The river is content to support your weight, your stillness, your drowsiness. The gods above, the ancestors beyond, the sleepers on the banks, the priests in their sanctuaries, everyone, everything, is woven into the same pattern of night. Even your breaths are part of it now, matching the soft repeat of the river against the hull. In and out, again and again, without any need for you to supervise. Your body knows what to do. You are not required to think about any of this. You can forget names, places, ideas, images. The story can dissolve into pure sensation: cool air on your face, the weight of linen on your chest, the slow rocking underneath you, the distant, silver lining of starlight on water. Nothing more is needed. Time continues, but not in a way you need to measure. The stars pivot inch by inch. The boat moves north, bend by bend. Somewhere behind you, the places you have passed sleep on, unaware that you have gone. Your body now feels as if it has grown roots into the deck, not in a trapped way, but in a deeply restful way. You are planted, steady, completely supported. The river becomes an extension of your spine, your breath, your heartbeat. All rhythms match. If a stray thought tries to tug you back into the day, something undone, something unsaid, you can imagine setting it gently into the river, placing it on a small, leaf-shaped boat made of papyrus. You watch it float away into the darkness, carried by the smooth current until it is too far to see. The night does not need your tasks. They can wait on a different shore, in a different time. If your eyes open once more, they see the same quiet stars, the same sleeping forms, the same subtle line of land and palm. If they close again, the sensations continue without interruption. You are not missing anything crucial by letting yourself drift. You are here, now, on a calm nighttime journey along the Nile, and you are already halfway in dreams. The rest of the way requires no effort at all. You simply let go a little more, and a little more, until even the sound of the water becomes a distant, friendly murmur, and the ancient river, the boat, and your body all slide together into sleep.